Hey folks, welcome back to Road Hard Restorations. In this video, I'm going to show you a few items that you're going to want to pick up on your first trip to the paint store when you get the supplies to paint your car at home. One of the first things you want to consider is your safety. So get yourself some nitrile gloves. I use these Ravens from SAS. I'll put a link down in the description where you can find them on Amazon. These are really great. These are what my local paint supply store carries as well. You might find some other ones as like 3M or whatever. You're also going to need a respirator of some sort. This is also one from SAS. It's a charcoal filter respirator. This one is completely disposable, and it comes in like a Ziploc type bag. If you get the 3M style, these do not come in a Ziploc, so get yourself a 1 gallon Ziploc bag, and then you just throw this in the Ziploc, and it'll last you longer. Now, don't be confused by these pink ones. This is for dust, like when you're doing your sanding. But these come off, and you can put the charcoal filter on there. So you can use one mask and just get 2 different sets of filters, and you can just buy new filters instead of buying a whole new mask. So that's another option for you. I'm trying out the SAS because I'm having a hard time with this one, and as it turns out, having a hard time with this one sealing on my face. So that being said, you want these to be super tight to your skin to not let any paint in. When you're done painting, a lot of times you'll see right on either side of the bridge of your nose, you'll see color of the paint that you're spraying. If that's the case, then paint's actually getting into the mask, passing the filters. So you're breathing in that stuff essentially. If you have any facial hair at all, you're breathing that stuff in because it's not sealing, guarantee it. So make sure you shave really well. If you have a beard, you may have to get a different style mask that's a full face, full head mask, or better yet, if you can afford a fresh air system, go that route. But fresh air or supplied air basically takes air from outside or filters the compressor air. You don't want to just breathe the compressed air. That's a bad thing also. So you want the appropriate filters that are set up and made for that. So you want to make sure that your air is clean coming out of your paint gun. Not everybody has the fancy filter system, and you don't want moisture from the air, your air lines coming through your gun, causing fish eyes in your paint. You don't want oil from the compressor coming in. So you try to get your filtered air through the gun cleanly. So a lot of guys run this little guy right here or something similar. It's just a little desiccant dryer as a last resort just before the gun. So you go ahead and thread it onto your gun here. Go ahead and put your regulator on there, or put the regulator on here and then put the filter before the regulator. Probably better to do it that way. That way you get a true reading at the gun here. And then you have your fitting on there. It's already on there. Then you hook up your hose, and then you got this big old contraption here, plus your paint gun on top. That's a bit. I've even seen guys run like 2 or 3 of these little things on there, and then it's just ridiculous. So what I suggest to do is get yourself a whip hose. Now I have this whip hose right here that I use with my fresh air hood system. It basically goes to my belt, and then this goes to my gun. I also picked this up recently, and it's got basically the same thing, but it's got a little swivel on there. So what I do is I put my fitting right on my gun, hook it like that, and then that's quite a bit less contraption on the end of your paint gun. I like this kind with a button. It's a Provost. I showed this in a previous video, but they also have, but you can get other high flow fittings that are a little bit shorter, and that'll even save a little bit, even more space. But you can, wrap your arm around there, and then, you're doing your roof to keep the hose from dripping onto your panel. And then, well, what about your regulator and filter? Well, basically, I got the wrong fitting on here, but essentially you would screw this onto your end of your whip hose, and you can regulate it and filter it right here. That way you don't, and then hook up your mainline hose right here. And if you wanted to, you can hook this to your belt, and then just go like that. That's a good idea, I think. I've seen a few guys do that, and just wanted to share that idea with you. If you're worried about the pressure drop between the regulator through your whip hose to the gun, you can always put a T fitting in here with a gauge. Set your gun up using the regulator with the gauge here, and then once you know where you're at here, you can read what you got here. So if you're trying to get 20 at the gun and you say you're reading a 22 here, then you know you need to set this 22 for this to be 20. You can take the gauge off, hook up your hose directly to it, and then just set this for 20, and then you know you're at, or set this for 22, and then you know you're at 20 on the gun. Make sense? Okay. Hope so. So I'm not going to get into spray guns, sandpaper, paint, primer, and all that stuff. You can see a lot of that in this video. I'll put a link up here for it. Go check that out. But when you're cleaning your gun, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need wrenches. Most of the paint guns come with a wrench. This is the one that comes with like the Harbor Freight style. This is the well-used one that came with my Iwatas. And they usually come with it. They usually come with brushes as well. If not, buy yourself a cleaning kit. These are the two that I primarily use, like a bottle brush type, and then like a toothbrush style. I wouldn't use a regular toothbrush because it'll probably deteriorate in the solvents. So you're going to need to clean the gun. What do you use? I use acetone. You can use lacquer thinner, but depending on your paint product, your paint line, it has a tendency of reacting with like epoxy primers don't like it, that sort of thing. Acetone, it even says on here, you can thin fiberglass resins, epoxy, and adhesives. So this is actually really good to clean the gun with. You're also going to want to get a funnel and a bottle to clean your gun. So this is a popular ones from DeVilbiss. You're going to need the funnel to get it into there, right? Pretty straightforward. There's another one right here that I've been using. It's a different brand. I don't know who made this one. It's got a smaller tip on there. But also keep the hose out of the liquid, because with the temperature changes, it'll tend to weep the thinner out of the end of the hose. When you're mixing your paint, you're going to want some stir sticks. Usually when you buy your paint from the paint supply store, they give you a handful of these. If you're doing a lot of the paint work all at once, you're not going to need a lot of them. If you're doing piecemeal, where you're doing a fender this weekend or another fender next weekend, you're mixing up more often, smaller amounts, so you're going to need more sticks to stir with. So you can just ask them for a little bit extra, and they'll accommodate you. They'll also send you home with a ton of strainers. And again, if you need to ask them for a few more, they don't mind. Especially if you're a first timer, they'll help you out most of the time if they're a good shop. So one of the other things you're going to want to pick up is mixing cups. Now you can get away with using one mixing cup for the entire job. You got to make sure that you clean it out really well each time. I recommend buying at least 3 of these things. I use one that I dedicate for primer, one for base coat, and then the third one for clear coat. If you want to get a whole stack of them and throw it away each time, it gets expensive, because these are anywhere from 89 cents to like $2.50 or whatever. I don't know, but I reuse them over and over again. This one right here, it's got a little bit of staining on it because this is my primer cup. And then obviously you know how that goes. You can strain it when you're mixing your paint. You can strain it into the cup, or mix it in here and then strain it into your paint gun. So as long as it gets strained. If you're using these PPS style disposable liners, and these cups have the measurements right on there, but then you mix it in here, well, how do you strain it? Well, the lids have the strainers built into them, so you don't have to restrain, pour it out, then strain it back in or anything like that, because it has a strainer built into it. All right, another thing you're going to want to do is pick up your paper and tape. Paper, if you're only going to get one size, I recommend 18, but I recommend 3 sizes, 6-inch, 12-inch, and then 18-inch. You can get like 24-inch wide paper as well, but those 3 sizes, 6, 12, and 18, are my go-to sizes. That comes in different colors and grades as well, different qualities. Get the best you can afford. You might spend a little bit more money, but less headache kind of thing. You kind of get what you pay for with the paper. I like the white paper personally, but this is what they had in stock, so I got a tube of green because I'm running low on white. Speaking of running low, I actually ran out of tape on my last job where I did the white stripes on the '67 Mustang. You can see that in another video as well. Go check that out. So this right here is about $100 worth of tape. This is the 3M yellow. Now it'll come different brands, qualities, grades of tape, and colors. There's tan, brown, there's yellow, orange, green, blue. There's like a blue one right here. Different brands, different qualities, different pricing. You can get this much tape for about a quarter of the cost on some of the cheap tapes, but you get what you pay for. They gave the paint supply store gave me this. This is from American to try out. I don't really like it as well. It doesn't stick. It doesn't seem to stick as well, and it's just cheaper tape. There's another brand that I like other than the 3M. The 3M yellow is my go-to. The other brand I like is Norton, but it's also pretty spendy as well. So, and again, each manufacturer has different grades of tape as well at different price points. When you're shopping for your tape, figure, kind of guesstimate how much you think you're going to need for the job, and then quadruple it, and then quadruple it, and then quadruple it, because you'd be surprised, you go through a lot of tape, especially if the car's still all together and you're just masking off windows, masking off door trim or whatever. You go through a ton of tape. Even blowing the car apart like I am on the 68 Mustang, I still go through a lot of tape. It's just ridiculous. But you want to make sure that you're sealed up nice and tight so you don't get overspray where you don't want it. This actually leaves a fairly decent edge too. I did the stripes using this. I didn't use fine line masking tape for stripes. I used this right here, and it actually came out pretty crisp. So I'm really happy with that. So that's the good stuff to use there. Paper towels. That's the other thing you're going to want to get is good quality paper towels. This is Torque brand. I think I've gone over this before in another video. But what I do with this stuff right here is, because I'm frugal, cheap, whatever you want to call it, this is actually like 4-ply. I split them in half, so I have two 2-ply towels, and then I fold them like that. And I have twice as many paper towels now. So give yourself good quality, something that's not gonna leave a lot of any paper trails, lint, or whatever. And last but not least is a grease and wax remover. I recommend highly to get a spray bottle, either a pump and spray, or you can just get a regular solvent compatible squirt bottle from the hardware store or the paint store to use to wipe down the car before you paint. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below, and sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.